one of the things that I've seen over the years in church, because that's been my closest like interaction with musicians and vocalists and all this kind of stuff, is even in church on Sundays, and people come, people go, right? But ego always comes into play. And pride can come into play. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, right? But how have you guys dealt with that, right? I feel like to be, a touring band that, plays live shows, and you guys have several million streamers on Spotify and all this kind of stuff, I feel like there has to be some kind of ego, some kind of pride there, because you're good at what you do, right? But how have you not allowed that to kind of take over or go into a negative light, I guess?
That's a killer question. Oh my gosh. I I don't know. I think it's honestly just by God's grace. I think because I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it. We're in churches all the time. We play. I think it goes back to a lot of the way I was raised. I think that's part of it. Because my dad, my mom, my dad owned his own business, and he was self-employed his whole life, and he's a photographer, and a kind of a difficult job to make a living out of if you're especially in a town like what we're in. It's not like a big town, and he made a whole career out of it, a great living being a photographer, and it was a creative job. um, but I think it's all in just that mentality of it's not a given that you're going to get to do what you love day in and day out. And I saw that with my dad. It's like he had to work really hard, and it wasn't something he always loved, but it was something he really was good at. And I think there were seasons of plenty of work and seasons of hardly any work. And I kind of see that against what I've done in my life. It's like there's seasons where songs work and you're kind of playing shows, you're out, you're doing the thing, your streaming numbers are up. And then there's seasons when that's not the case and somebody else is doing those things. And man, I think all I can say is after being through so many of those seasons and then kind of being raised the way I was raised, it's like it doesn't matter if you're in like a season where maybe things aren't clicking. It doesn't change how hard you work or how much you believe in what you're supposed to do. So I think for
Yeah.
me, I can I can still know that like I'm doing the thing. I get to do what I love, and maybe that last song didn't work, but we got 20 other songs that we're excited about. Maybe one of those will like get people excited. But even if it doesn't, it's like I still am able to figure out how to do what I love. And I love coming into these churches where you do experience people who have um, just different ideas of how to make things work musically. And like you said, if you're dealing with different personalities, it doesn't matter if you're in a church setting, if you're any kind of business setting, it doesn't have to be music even, but you're going to
Mm-hmm.
run into personalities of people who have an ego or think they know the better way to do something. It's like you're always going to be um, experiencing people at either their best or their not so best, and it's all about what you bring to that yourself. And I think for me, I've been around enough people to, and I know myself well enough that there's been plenty of people who have given me grace in my life when I was the person who thought I knew everything. That now it's like I see a little more clearly that um, I can be that person to other people too. And we could be playing a church for 50 people, and even still, and it's like I'm not walking in there thinking, oh, what are we doing wrong? It's like
Right.
we're still here for a purpose.